Gunner Galactico. Arsenal return to the Bernabeu to face Real Madrid in the quarter-finals of the Champions League. This is what it's all about. And this today is the Arsenal Raw Reaction Show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is our Arsenal Raw Reaction Show, joining you after the evening before Arsenal drawing 2-2, but 9-3 winners on aggregate against PSV. And if I'd have told you that I could offer you 9 goals from Arsenal across our last 16 tie, I think you probably would have taken it. Good morning to those joining us in the chat box. Very much appreciate all of you being here as always. Thank you. Hope you had a really good week so far. I hope you enjoyed last night if you were there. I hope you enjoyed last night if you weren't. And thank you so much as always for choosing the show and tuning in as well. If you could drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new with those notifications turned on, that'd be very much appreciated. Good morning to Paul, to Kim, to Matt, Rowan, Hoodaguna, Brian, Dave, Runs with Cows, Jitty, Pat, Tom, Chris, Jord, Martin, Black Shine, James, Scouse Gooner. We got Black Shine, we got Natty Tom, Grantley Poo, Stevie, Arasilki, NSW, Gooner 76, Peter, Paul, Stephen, plenty more of you guys and girls too. Thank you so much for tuning in. Incredibly appreciated as always. Let's not waste any time. Let's jump to today's stories, shall we? And slides. We start with this fixture of the evening. Arsenal 2, PSV 2. I mean, it was a bit of a strange one, wasn't it? It was never really, I don't think, going to be a game that provided us with any level of insight or too much tactical kind of discussion. Yes, we didn't win. Yes, that's a frustration. Yes, that kind of continues this run of, what is it, 1 win in 5 now, I think, which is not a great run. I think Arteta would have certainly wanted to win, and it was a more open team. It was very much a changed team against a side in PSV that had nothing to lose because they'd already lost. But certainly it was a really odd fixture with some changes made to it. And some good goals scored, some good performances, some less good performances. And it was just, yeah, I mean, I agree with Paul. We played it very much like a friendly. It felt like a friendly. It had a real friendly vibe to it as a bit of an exhibition match as well. But Arsenal getting the job done in the end, progressing through to the quarterfinals of the Champions League, where they will play a historic opponent. The lineup on the day was odd. I mean, I wonder if anyone had told Arteta like 6 years ago that in 2025, in the last 16 of the Champions League, you're going to play a team that has a front three of Raheem, Sterling, Kieran Tierney, and Mikel Merino. I wonder what he might have said. But that is the front three that we went for on the day. It's very odd. And then Alexander Zinchenko playing as a number 10. Jorginho and Rice playing in midfield. Kivior at right centre-half. Gabriel Lewis-Skelly and Ben White completing that back four with David Raya, of course, in goal. It was an opportunity to rest players ahead of the weekend against Chelsea. Chelsea, of course, playing this evening. They've got their second leg tie in the UEFA Europa Conference League. Couldn't be us. In that competition tonight. 2-1 up from that first leg, meaning they can't really resort to playing too cheaply. I think they've still got a job to do, of course. But I'd be surprised if some of the likes of Cole Palmer were involved ahead of the game against Arsenal on Sunday. But it was and is an interesting game, be it still, at Arsenal were able to rest plenty of players ahead of the weekend, but still played many of the favourites and gave opportunities to those coming off the bench a little bit later on in the game. But it was Alexander Zinchenko who gave Arsenal the lead against his former club, who he spent time on loan with from Manchester City. 4 left-backs in total in the side: Kivior, Zinchenko, Tierney and Lewis-Skelly. And we brought a 5th on in the form of Ricardo Calafiori as well. There was even a moment in the game where I thought we might get an all left-back goal because Calafiori, Tierney and Lewis-Skelly all combined to create one of the best moves we've seen of the season. Sadly, Calafiori unable to get the finishing touch on the strike, but it was a moment of pure left-back joy in the team. But it was Zinchenko who got the game going with a brilliant left-footed strike. I asked Mikel Arteta after the game if indeed he hoped that Martin Odegaard might be able to get these types of goals from that position, considering Zinchenko was filling in for him, with a lot of discussion at the moment around Ødegaard's ball striking in particular. And that is the type of goal that we've really been missing, I think, from this team for a little bit. I know Waneri's been able to pop up a few times and provide some of these types of efforts, but this is the moment. These are the moments where we really need to see some players scoring some rather special goals that can, of course, take the game into their own hands. Brilliant play from Sterling in the build-up to this goal. I know Zinchenko does a lot of work across the goal before striking, but Sterling holds up a couple of players, spins, turns, passes into space inside for Zinchenko to run onto. Really good work from him. More about him in a bit. But Zinchenko getting the game underway with that goal. That PSV did equalise, of course, before Declan Rice managed to put Arsenal in front again. Arsenal conceding to the absolute delight of the away crowd, who were PSV's fans, were absolutely excellent all the way through the game, continually excellent. And to be fair to PSV, they really did come with like a vigor and a posture of, as I say, having nothing to lose. But it was all about Raheem Sterling for Arsenal's second goal, sprinting down the right-hand side before taking on Malassi, I think it was, cut into the touchline before crossing to Declan Rice, who all he had to do was get a touch on the ball and then refused to celebrate because, of course, he was widely criticised for his celebration at Old Trafford at the weekend by Manchester United and obviously Liverpool supporters and some Arsenal fans. Well, I think I, to be fair, even had a word about it and was like, I'm not sure it's too advisable to be shushing a crowd at 1-1, but good sense of humour from Rice from his goal celebration, refusing to celebrate, saying it's not okay to celebrate goals. And Arsenal looked like at that point they'd probably go on to win the game. It was a really strong half from Raheem Sterling, but it wasn't to be. Driesch, the kind of player that came into the PSV side for some game time, not typically in the starting 11 from the looks of things. Noah Lang benched on the day, Perisic playing as well. But Driesch playing a brilliant chipped ball over Raya. You could argue Raya comes out a little bit too soon, underestimates the situation. I think Ben White and Kivior get caught too high up the pitch. I really think that it's just one of those, moments of lack of concentration, lack of communication, lack of familiarity with one another in a back four that's led to that goal happening. And it's a really good finish, and you got to compliment the scorer for getting on the end of that chance and finishing in the way that he did. But it was Raheem Sterling who stole the headlines of the night and earned a Man of the Match awards. I'd say for his first half performance in particular, he wasn't amazing in the second half. He did trail off as the game went on. But I thought first half was certainly his best performance. He had a chance to score one versus one. I think that, Sterling of 3 years ago would be scoring this one-on-one situation at an absolute canter. I think obviously he'd have an extra yard of pace behind him as well. He'd probably move to the right of the goal rather than the left as he did. Benitez does well to save the effort, but his movement was good. His stride was good. And obviously his passing was good on the night as well. His crossing, his movement was good. It's the best we've seen of Raheem Sterling. And the ironic thing is now that he won't be able to play for the next 3 weeks. He also won't be able to play in the first leg of the game against Real Madrid because that yellow card he picked up at the end of the game means he's suspended from the first leg of the UEFA Champions League quarter-final as well. It was a horrendous challenge, it has to be said. He's lucky he didn't make any real contact with the player. Otherwise, he could have, I think, seen himself getting a much more harsher colour card than what he received on the night from a referee who I thought was absolutely horrendous. I don't know about you, but I thought the referee last night was probably one of the worst European referees that we've had. And it was a nothing game, and I yet still found myself getting annoyed with his decision-making. He put Jakub Kivior in the game for what was an absolutely nothing. I don't really understand why Jakub Kivior ended up getting a yellow card for just a really good piece of strong defensive work on I think it was Perisic at the time. So I'm just distracted because a piece of news has come up from Fabrizio Romano suggesting that Ferland Mendy has suffered a bit of a problem and will undergo tests in the upcoming hours, apparently. Ferland Mendy, of course, who will be playing against maybe Bukayo Saka in the tie between Arsenal and Real Madrid, but however long he is out for, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Kivior, really strange one there. I don't know why he got a yellow card. Speaking of Kivior, I think that game again. I know he's not played in a lot. I think the last time he actually played for us was against Girona. In the last time the two teams played against one another, which kind of gives you a bit of an information about, well, how little indeed there is faith in him. And Arsenal brought on later in the game. Odegaard came on, Trossard came on, Calafiori came on, and Nathan Butler-Oyedeji did. And I think the reason why Nathan Butler-Oyedeji didn't come on was because Arteta wanted to win the game, not the tie, that was already won, but the game. And had Arsenal been 2-0 up rather than 2-2, I think maybe we would have seen him. I've had a couple of conversations actually about why Nathan Butler-Oyedeji is not really getting any minutes, and the terms that I'm getting, the answer that I'm getting are, what benefit is there? There might be a benefit to the player individually who is going to leave, is going to be released in the summer. I imagine that's certainly the feeling that we're getting, is that he's going to be released in the summer. So what is the benefit to playing him when ultimately there is no real future for him at the club? He's very beneficial for Arsenal in training sessions. He's putting a lot of work, and they're very appreciative of that. But I think the feeling is obviously that they would rather give more exposure to the likes of Odegaard and Calafiori and Trossard and give them moments. James says raising his profile and value. There is no value. He's going to leave at the end of the season on a free. So it's not as if that is in any way beneficial to us. So yeah, it's one of those where I don't really think there's any reason to get annoyed at why he's not playing or getting any minutes now. I think it makes a lot more sense. Certainly is a lot more understanding about why what has happened. And Arsenal will be giving opportunities to players that are going to need to get minutes. That's obviously very, very important as well. And of course, that victory means that Arsenal will play Los Blancos. They will play Real Madrid in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. In the Bernabeu in the second leg, and the Emirates in the first leg. The game will take place. We have got confirmation of this. We know when the game is going to happen because it was released late last night. So you can book your flights, book your hotels. My hotel's already booked. Still waiting for the flights, which are very expensive because it is the Easter holidays, naturally. So flights are going to be pricey, but hotels are already sorted. I booked my hotels when we won the first leg because I just kind of booked over Monday to Wednesday and also Tuesday to Thursday, and we'll just cancel the hotel that obviously we're not going to use. I think that's the smart. You got to think ahead of these things, you know. But it's they're very expensive. The travel for those that are going to be making their way out there, and Arsenal will hope, of course, to be in the tie in the second leg. I think that's got to be the aim. You know, you want to be able to go to the Bernabeu with the tie still very much in your own hands. Arsenal will be looking to get a good, solid result at the Emirates before going to the Bernabeu. It was a really interesting game. I was watching the majority of it on the side while Arsenal were playing PSV. And I really did feel like Atleti were going to do it. For so much of the game, it felt as though Atleti were going to be the better team. They had plenty of opportunities. Julian Alvarez, of course, probably could have scored another. Angel Correa, of course, could have had a goal himself. I think, obviously, Real Madrid missing their penalty through Vinicius Jr. was a big, big moment for them too. And I felt as though when that penalty was missed, I was like, well, that's it. You know, they are going to go through. Real Madrid are going to get this result. They are going to be able to go through on the night, but they weren't able to do it. Rather incredibly so. They were not able to get the result that they would have wanted in this game. And that obviously is a rather big surprise, I think, in the end, that they weren't able to. But Real Madrid are, and the double touch, of course, the penalty, Julian Alvarez, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like I've watched it a million times and I still can't see it. I still feel like I can't see the second touch. I'm sure it's there. There is also part of me that thinks that when the planting foot goes down, sometimes that raises the earth next to it, which can look like the ball moves. But there is, there is really some feeling that he did make another touch of the ball. And I don't know. I'd feel pretty hard done by if it was us, to be honest. Really hard done by. And I couldn't see the second touch. I really couldn't see it. We actually had all of us were watching it in the press lounge at the Emirates, of course, as we were waiting for the result to find out who Arsenal were playing. We actually had Mikel Arteta's press conference before the end of that game, so we couldn't even ask him specifically about Real Madrid. There were some questions more so about, who we would prefer or what type of qualities there are, or regardless of the opponent, how do you feel about getting to the quarterfinals, etc. But there wasn't really an ability to ask him. We'll hear more, of course, about Real Madrid, I think, in in the press conference ahead of the game of the weekend against Chelsea, of course, this Friday. That's early afternoon, this press conference on Friday, tomorrow, of course. Well, we'll hear some more about that. But anyway, less of the controversy, more of the reality. And Real Madrid against Arsenal is a game that has not been played competitively since 2006. I began the show with that ever so famous commentary of Gunner Galactic. I think it's Peter Drury, is it not? That commentary of Arsenal's 1-0 win in the Bernabeu in 2006. I think it is. And in terms of the record between the two sides of when they have met, they have only ever played once in a European competition, and that was that tie back in 2006. Real Madrid, this is quite the stat. Real Madrid have never beaten Arsenal in a competitive fixture in their entire history. They have never beaten Arsenal, a team that they rarely play. We never really get drawn. Always Bayern Munich, always Barcelona, always get those teams. Never, ever do we really play Real Madrid. And it is a side full of overwhelming talent. And what I like about this time, what I like about this game is that I think it takes the pressure off Arsenal. I think it puts all of the pressure on Real Madrid. They are the team that will be expected to go through. When we played Bayern Munich last season, there was a real pressure on Arsenal. It was like Arsenal are the favourites against Bayern. For the first time in living memory, it feels like we're going up against Bayern Munich and we're going in as favourites, and yet we got knocked out as a big disappointment. We are going into this game as underdogs, big, big, big underdogs. If you think that we are on par with this Real Madrid team, you need to give your head a bit of a wobble. This is a team that's been constructed meticulously with such financial accuracy and mega investment. It contains some of the best players in the world. You know, Kylian Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, Luka Modric, Antonio Rudiger, Fede Valverde, Thibaut Courtois, arguably the best goalkeeper in the world on his day. Eduardo Camavinga, Raheem Diaz looking excellent. And they are missing players, Real Madrid. There are players that are going to miss this time. We hear, of course, with Ferland Mendy currently out as well and often are off to go for a scan on his hamstring. Could it be that he also is injured? Dani Carvajal, I think, is out for the rest of this season, at least, maybe even beyond that. Dani Ceballos, sadly, of course, former Arsenal player, is going to miss at least the first leg, maybe even the second as well. And he's actually been used by Carlo Ancelotti a fair amount also. There's some exciting young players in this team. Raul Asensio, he's not an attacking midfielder like Marco Asensio. Raul Asensio, more of a defender. Eder Militao is out, of course, for the rest of the season. Also, I don't think they got any yellow cards that will see any of them suspended like Sterling. There was a number of players who were on yellow cards going into that game, but none of them, I don't think, managed to get a suspension. I might be wrong. Someone in the chat box, of course, will be able to will tell me. It does say Tchouaméni maybe got another yellow card. Tchouaméni is suspended. Yes, Tchouaméni's okay. So there is one. Tchouaméni will miss the first leg through suspension. Did he play the first game? Or did he? I think he did play, didn't he? So Tchouaméni will miss a game through suspension. But it's, I mean, I guess it's even. We've lost Sterling, they've lost Tchouaméni. It's basically the same level of player we're losing. So, you know, no excuses for Real Madrid there. They're not going to have to come up against the force that is Raheem Sterling on the day. But it's a very, very, very interesting tie. And if we'd have got Atletico Madrid, I almost would have felt like that it would have been a game that, again, I think the Atletico tie would have been similar to Bayern, where we would have drawn against this team who a lot of people would have expected us to beat them, right? I think that's how the feeling would have been. The pressure would have been on Arsenal to beat Atleti and then get an opportunity to go up against either one of Aston Villa or PSG in the semi-finals. But going up against Real Madrid, a team I think stylistically that might suit us more, give us more space to attack, give us more space to, like Atleti had last night, more space to get a good result. I think that there is a real intriguing element to this game that gives Arsenal something of a chance. But it is Real Madrid, the UEFA Champions League baby that is Real Madrid. They always get that inevitability feeling about them. that they are going to be able to get a result, that they're going to be able to win any game, that if they're losing by 2 goals late on, they're still going to get 3 to go through. There is an inevitability about Real Madrid more so than there is any other team in the competition. And I think that when it comes to a potential return for Bukayo Saka, that is a big, big element of this game. There is hope that Saka could be back, but I think that hope is, well, he will be doing everything in his power. If there was ever a feeling that he might take it easy until the end of the season and focus on being back for next season, Bukayo Saka will be doing everything. I just hope that he doesn't push it too hard. I hope the club don't push it too hard. And I hope that they really look after him, because it would be awful for him to rush back, get an injury and miss, maybe even part of next season. So they have to be really careful. Martinelli being back is a big boost. I've been really happy with his contributions in the small amount that we've seen him in the last 2 games. He's so much more direct. He gives us a lot more pace. He gives us a lot more unpredictability and verve about our attack. I'm really happy that Martinelli is going to return, but having Saka back would obviously be massive for us. Absolutely massive for us. So, yeah, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see if indeed that is something that happens. But what a tie! I'm wildly excited to witness this, to work this game. I've been in this job, for a little while now, but in this particular role, covering Arsenal at FL as the chief writer, going to every game only ever since the turn of the new year, and to think that in my first season doing this particular role, the cards have aligned to allow a trip to the Bernabeu is wow. I've been collecting fridge magnets of European teams that I've visited. We've got Girona and we've got PSV on the board. Being able to put Real Madrid up there as the third one is particularly special. So, yes. Jay Collins says, I'm assuming this game will be a Cat C. Yeah, me too. I'm sure. I'm sure this will be a Cat C, Jay. Almost certainly this will be a Cat C, yes. Right, let's go to part 2, shall we? A lot of your questions, your thoughts on the tie, on the game from last night, on individual performances, on looking ahead, of course, to the weekend in Chelsea and anything else right after this. Okay, this is part 2 of the show. We tackle your thoughts, your questions, and more. If you've got some feelings, let us know. I should tell you, if you've not yet caught up on the Andreas Berta special that we did, myself and Sid Lowe sat down for a chat about Andrea Berta. If you have watched that, or maybe you've not finished watching that, right at the end of that show with Sid, in the last 5 minutes of that episode, we do have a sit down and chat about the prospect of facing both Atletico Madrid or Real Madrid. And Sid gives some really good insight. We talk about the idea that Real Madrid might actually be the better opponent for us stylistically to face. But there is a really good quip from Sid in that section. So if you've not yet gone and caught up on that, go and give that a listen. It's worth listening just for obviously the Andrea Berta stuff, but there's a really good bit at the end about Real Madrid from Sid, who, of course, is based in Spain, covers Spanish football for The Guardian, in my opinion, second to none when it comes to Spanish football coverage. So go and give that a listen if not yet. Thank you for all the kind feedback on the episode. It was a real joy to sit down with him. Oh, I can hear my own voice. What? That's weird. Oh, okay. It's playing the episode in the background. That's why. That was really strange. Anyway, let's go to the chat box, shall we? And get some of your thoughts. Stephen says, I repeat, the Mikel Merino experiment is dead. It's dead. Dead. It's dead. The experiment is dead. 3 games, anonymous. It is killing the poor player. I tend to agree. I would say that Trossard came on and did also nothing. It's a problem area. I'm telling you, if Bukayo Saka is back, ready, fit, I want a front 3 of Saka on the right, Waneri on the left, and Martinelli through the middle. That's my front 3 for Real Madrid. If Saka is back, fit, available, that's what I want to see. That's my front 3 for that game. Saka on the right, Waneri on the left, Martinelli through the middle. I'd love to see that. Saka cutting in from the right, Neri getting the cutbacks to Martin. That's what I want to see. That's the front three that I want to see against Real Madrid. It's got pace. It's got transitional threat. That is the front three that I want to see. So pace, as Jay says. Yes, indeed. That's what I want from that team. Lots and lots and lots of pace because we're going to need to hit them on the counter, and that's the front three I'd love to see rip apart that side. Jesus, my savior, says, let's try Calafiori. He had an opportunity to score last night. Wasn't as good of a finish on his stronger foot, of course, as the one away from home in PSV, but it was a brilliant piece of play and back heel and move, and all of that was perfect, basically. Temi says, is Sterling man of the match proof that pigs can indeed fly? No, I don't think anyone predicted that, Temi. I think you're probably right. Jamil says, should we think about resting Saka now for the rest of the season, despite the Real Madrid game? After such a serious injury, I'd fear risking his long-term fitness and damaging his future, rushing him back. It's certainly going to be a conversation. I feel it. I imagine that Arteta will be asked about Saka on Friday and, whether or not this particular time makes it in any way a feeling that you could rush him back. You can't rush him back. I really don't think you can rush him back. DJ D10 says, what did Sterling have for breakfast yesterday? Munn says, why Arteta didn't play Nathan Butler and Ismail Kabia? I guess they just don't see a future for those two players necessarily. They're kind of there to make up the numbers, which is a shame, but that is ultimately what happens sometimes. If they don't see a future in a player, they're not going to use them. That's why we're seeing Neri and Lewis Skelly used, but not those. Neri fully rested, by the way, for Chelsea. He had been struggling a little bit with fatigue, Neri, so I think that's a really good bit of man management of Neri last night, not using him. Oliver says, Tom, what are your thoughts on Ben White? I thought he was getting completely done yesterday. Do you think he'll be able to claim his spot back for Timber? I actually wrote, it was a difficult display from Ben. I thought he started off the game well. I think he progressed the ball really, really well, but defensively chasing back, he looked a little bit off, but he's only just coming back. It's so hard. And I hate when I'm not saying you are, by the way, Oliver, but in general, I hate when Arsenal fans get on players' backs almost immediately after they've returned from injury, because we had it with Ødegaard and it's not really gone away since he returned from that ankle injury. Ben White, I sincerely hope, is given the time and breath to find back his form. But Jurriën Timber came off the bench yesterday and I thought was excellent. I thought Jurriën Timber was startlingly good in a small cameo, one of the best small cameos from the bench of a player in a nothing game I've seen in a long time. Really did impress me, Jurriën Timber's performance. And if we are going to have a chance of stopping Vinicius Jr. and Kylian Mbappe, Gabriel, Jurriën Timber, Saliba, Lewis Skelly maybe, they're all going to be huge. They're all going to have to be absolutely on it when it comes to that game. So very intrigued. Very, very intrigued indeed to see how they end up getting on. John says, Tom, I'm really disappointed that during the two legs we didn't bother trying one of the young forwards, one who's 22. We could have found an option going forward in the front. I don't think so, John. I mean, realistically, we've got the title's gone. Top four is, if we beat Chelsea, I think also secured. I'd like to finish second, obviously, and not lose that spot. But they're leaving in the summer. I'm not going to get hung up on the fact that they didn't get used. I'm just not. We have given a lot of debuts to players this season. We've broken into the squad 2 amazing young players. I really can't be too picky about the promotion of youngsters in this side this season. There's another one that's going to come through next season. I'm sure of it, in Max Dowman. So absolutely, I'm not really going to get on the back of the club about the players. I really, really am not going to get on the back of them. Emil says, any worry about international injuries? Of course, there's always going to be worries about that, Emil. Yes. But we just got to keep our fingers crossed that they come through. Same as Real Madrid. They're going to be hoping too that their players come through, without having to deal with that also. So it's a double-edged sword, for both teams. And hopefully Arsenal come through unscathed. Perry says, the fact that we don't have a striker is not a good enough reason for Butler Odeji to play. We need that striker profile up front instead of Marino and Calafiori. Again, he's a 22-year-old who can't score when he's on loan at Cheltenham. So I really don't know what else to say, to be honest. Yasin says, how bad? We're getting really hung up on this Butler Odeji stuff. I'm probably going to move on from that. I really don't think it's a point of contention or discussion at all now. I think it's fairly obvious why he's not playing. Terence says, morning, Tom. When do you think the club will announce the new merch drop? Also, do we need to worry about Real Madrid's consistent complaining to the refs. They always are looking for pens and cards. We need to match it. We need to match that energy. We need to be on the referee. We need to be on him and trying to get him to get players booked too, within the means of the game's laws, of course. So match it. You can't stop Real Madrid doing it, so match that energy. Matt says, a bit off topic, but what's your favourite kind of goal? Free kick, chipping the keeper, dribbling past loads of players, banger from outside the box, individual brilliance. I do love a well-worked passing move. Like if Calafiori had scored last night, that would have been the goal of the game. I love the chipped goal from Ziyech. It was a brilliant finish. But for me, my favourite goal of all time is Jack Wilshere against Norwich. That goal, just not in terms of what it meant, because obviously there's other goals that mean a lot more. But like Aaron Ramsey for me against Hull in the FA Cup final will always be a big goal for me. It was, I was at uni. I was just turned 18. It was my first real experience of Arsenal winning a trophy as an adult. That goal will always be great. It wasn't necessarily an amazing goal. It was a really good, to be fair, it was a pretty good goal. Back heel from Giroud and great shot from Ramsey. But my favourite goal, just purely on the goal, is Jack Wilshere against Norwich, just because of the move. Like that, those types of goals for me, the pass, because that's for me, that's Arsenal. That's quintessentially Arsenal. Quick, slick passing accuracy, great deft finish. People think that it shouldn't even count, but it does. That for me is the type of goal that I love the most. Tristan says, I see Marino roaming around the whole pitch, but rarely ever in the box when a cross comes in. Would like to see. I agree. I think that Marino is an excellent box midfielder when he plays midfield and can get into those areas when he plays that role. I think he's lost that ability playing centre forward. I think he's confused. I think he's not adjusting. I think that it's, in some ways, I hope it's not having a more detrimental impact on his ability to naturally play that box-to-box midfield role. So I'm worried about the Moreno situation now. I'm really, really worried about it. Kevin says, the argument for not using one youth player is that he's leaving. Why play Tierney, who's also out? Because he's a senior player, Kevin. Like, if you've got two players that you can play, one of them's a 22-year-old that's barely made a competitive appearance. The other one is Kieran Tierney. Both of them are leaving. You pick Kieran Tierney. So I don't really see that argument as an option. When you're saying like youth player, the guy's 22. He's not a youth player anymore. He's part of the senior squad because he can't be part of the under-21s. Aike says, would it hurt Arteta to give squad players a chance to rest by playing outsiders in dead rubber games? I mean, we did that last night. We did that. Sterling played, Tierney played, Jorginho played, Zinchenko played, Kivior played. We played a lot of dead rubber players, but you want to keep that consistent. You want to try and win the game as well, and that's important. Oliver says, do we need to replace both Partey and Jorginho this season with Skelly and Dowman coming through? I still think yes. I think that's a level of experience that you're also losing. I know there was some reports yesterday about Bruno Guimaraes. I don't know how much truth there is to that, to be honest. But certainly the Martin Zubimendi is a player, of course, Arsenal will be looking to bring in. But will they look to get another midfielder? I guess we will wait and see. AFC Till I Die says, hi Tom, random question, but do you think that the Liverpool game will be swapped because it's currently on at 3 p.m. on Saturday? I'm now booking time off to watch the big games. Almost certainly that game will move. That's what, is it May, that game? May 8, yeah, that game will move. It will not be Saturday 10th at 3 o'clock. It may still be Saturday, but it will not be a 3 o'clock game. Hasala says, if both White and Timber are fit for the first leg, would you consider starting Timber at left back? No, I wouldn't. Not right now. I think my back four right now is Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Lewis, Skelly. That is our best back four right now. So that's what I would go with. Until White shows me more, shows me he's back fit, back ready, then no, I would go with that, with Lewis, Skelly. But what White does is gives us that option. If White can come back and get some real form before that game against Real Madrid, then absolutely. But at the moment, Jurriën Timber is undisputed in that position. He's been world-class levels in some games. I thought, as I say, that cameo last night was astonishingly good for a player. Nothing real game, comes off the bench, was really, really good. Wazza says, do you think that we should sign some more left backs in the summer, as it seems that we potentially have enough to fit a whole starting 11? Well, the irony is, of course, that we might do, because quite a few of them are leaving. Kivior, Zinchenko, who else? There's one more, I think I'm forgetting, Tierney. I think they're all going to go. I think that we might see Tommy Asov, obviously, is injured, so we're not going to have him. So, yeah, I think that we still might, ironically, need to sign another left back, or at least a left-sided defender. Nike says, how should we approach the game in Madrid? Play like we play now with the possession. I mean, in Madrid, it very much depends upon how the first leg goes. In the first leg, we need to try and win. We have to try and win that game. If you can take a lead to the Bernabeu, you're in a really good position, especially with how good defensively we are. So a lead in the Bernabeu would be great. We have to try and win that first leg. It's as simple as that. Of course, Real Madrid have already been beaten this season in England when they came and faced against Liverpool. Liverpool were just better than them. If we were playing Real Madrid last season, I'd have far more confidence, obviously, because we were in a lot better form last season. But this season is not as much. When they came to Liverpool, Liverpool had 17 shots to Real Madrid's 8. 7 on target to Real Madrid's 3. They had 63% of the possession, Liverpool to Real Madrid's 37%. They tried to hit on the counter Real Madrid, I think, and it didn't work. Liverpool overpowered them. We don't have the power at the moment of the players that are not available with us to do that. If we get Saka back, it will help a lot. As I mentioned earlier in the show, my front 3, my 11 for that game is Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Luis Skelly, Partey, Rice, Odegaard, Saka, Martinelli through the middle, Winery on the left. That's my 11 for the game with Raya and goal, obviously. That's what I would go with for that game. Based upon what I'm seeing right now, based upon who hopefully will be fit, that's what I'd go. If Ben White proves his fitness, of course you've got the opportunity to go Ben White right, Timber left. Of course that's an option for us. But it very much depends upon the squad then. And we don't really know what it's going to look like from now. That's the issue that we've got. Tom says, did you enjoy the tension in the press room yesterday watching those penalties? There was a few sad faces when that Rudiger penalty went in. It was nice to see you again, Tom, by the way. I think it was an interesting environment because I think, there was a feeling that, it'd be quite cool if Atletico knocked out Real Madrid. I think there's a few journos in there who'd not been to the Wanda. Obviously, I've not been to Madrid. So I think there was some that was wanting to go to Atleti. I think there was a lot who wanted to go to the Bernabeu. I think Real Madrid is the better tie for us stylistically, and obviously I'm being a bit selfish because getting to go to the Bernabeu is a dream. But yeah, very, very interesting that was. Arthur says, are you concerned about our 2 central defenders' contentious passing of the ball amongst themselves, especially Gabriel, when their passes are ahead? Not at the moment. It's a weird game to kind of analyze, to be honest. Robert says, Saliba audition. To be honest, I mean, Real Madrid have watched Saliba for a long, long time. You don't need to worry about Saliba playing there. they know all about him. Amberly says, yeah, I can't argue with that, Tom. We really can't go there needing anything more than a draw. Sam says, hi, Tom. Please, what's the news about Tomiyasu? He won't be back until the end of the year, I'm afraid. Joe, he will not be back for a long, long time. Vala says, would you mind letting Madrid have a bit of the ball and try and hurting them on the counter? I feel like we have the defense in the world when we're the best defense in the world when we are settled and structured off the ball. Certainly, yes, especially away from home. At home, I think we need to be more imposing, but away from home, yes, I think the counter-attack is going to be very, very important. King says, I'm personally happy that we got Real. If we beat them, it's a huge statement. If we lose, it's to the biggest team in the world. And this is what I mean. I really think it's I think there's a nothing to lose type situation from this tie. We're beyond a doubt underdogs. We're second favourites for this game. The expectation is all on Real Madrid to progress. Arsenal are weak. They haven't got a lot of their players that would have played in this game. Well, it's a great opportunity. It's just an opportunity, this game. It's exciting. It's different. It's that Emirates atmosphere is going to be special. It wasn't last night. It was dreadful. But against Real Madrid, that atmosphere I expect to be second to none. I expect that noise in that Emirates Stadium to be bigger than ever before. I want those boring season ticket holders who sit there and sing and say nothing to finally get off their backsides and sing and create an amazing atmosphere in the Emirates. And I sincerely hope that they do if they're able. Some in there obviously aren't able, but I'm talking to those that, of course, that are able and that just sit there and don't say a word or don't sing a word. The only time Arsenal sung a song last night was when the PSV fans started singing Ole, 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 and that sparked an ironic copy of the song from Arsenal's own version of it as well. That was the only time there was any kind of noise. I know it was a dead game, and I know it didn't really sell, and Arteta made reference to that fact in his post-match presser. I sincerely hope there is some noise. If you can't get off your seat for Real Madrid at the Emirates then far as I'm concerned, sell your ticket because you're never going to be up for any game. And what's the point of you being there? what's the point? Get in your seat early. Get there well ahead of kickoff. Get in that ground inside. I was at the PSV game in Eindhoven, and those fans are in those seats 40 minutes before kickoff. I want every Arsenal fan in their seat at least half an hour before the game starts. At least half an hour before the game starts. This is a call to arms. Probably going to write a piece about this on Saturday or Sunday. Get in your seat. Get in your seat for that game. Please. I implore you. Please, 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 please get in your seat for that game. Create something special. Create an intimidating atmosphere. Get and motivate those players because they need every single syllable of every chant being sung by every single person in that ground. Please get in those seats. Anyway, that's going to bring us to the end of today's show. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Really appreciate you being here and listening. I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Enjoy your build up to the weekend. We've got one more game and then a long time without one. But after we play Chelsea on Sunday, we don't have another game until April, believe it or not. In fact, our next game after this is on the 1st of April against Fulham. We've got over 2 weeks until we play again. So it's going to be a long time before the next one. But yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. Have a fantastic evening all. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy, respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal. Oh, Los Blancos. It's going to be good. Gana Galactico.